Good morning, everyone. This is Father Nate, missionary priest in Italy, and thanks for joining us today, June 22nd, on No Greater Delight, our podcast on Marian feasts and Marian meditations. Well, to start us off today, we have a note, I'm pretty sure this is from Abbot Orsini, who talks about Our Lady of Narni. Narni, not Narnia, but Narni. We're told that in Narni in Italy, there is a shrine to our Blessed Mother. It's said that the image spoke to Blessed Lucy, to whom Mary gave the infant to hold, while Lucy venerated the mother and child. So, that's interesting. So what's going on here? Well, Blessed Lucy was born in Narni in Italy in 1476. We're told that she was a very holy child who preferred religious articles to toys, but she shared both with her playmates. When she was only 5, she experienced her first vision of the Blessed Virgin Mary. When she was 7, she visited an uncle in whose room a picture of angels was painted on the ceiling. Well, rather than just sit there and admire them, Lucy would secretly go there to pray, right? And we're told at this time she was favored by that heavenly vision that was mentioned by the Abbot Orsini, right? But furthermore, we're also told that Our Lady gave Lucy a ring, and Saint Dominic, who was also present in the vision, gave Lucy a scapular to wear at the time. At the age of 12, Lucy made a vow of perpetual chastity and then decided she wanted to become a Dominican nun. However, what's the problem? Well, her family wished her to marry, right? At Lucy's objection, the Blessed Mother appeared to her and bade her be wedded and imitate her in the life at Nazareth. So her husband, Pietro, agreed to respect Lucy's vow of virginity, right? So she led a saintly married life and still had visions, right? We're told that St. Catherine of Siena, I assume, St. Agnes and St. Agnes of Montepulciano frequently appeared to her. However, that desire to become religious still persisted, so finally she convinced her husband to take the habit of St. Francis. Well, she established a convent in Ferrara. On February 25th, 1496, she was marked with the stigmata, and she suffered greatly, spiritually and physically. She died in 1544 and was beatified by Pope Benedict XIII, right? We're told that in honor of, or in memory of Blessed Lucy, they erected this shrine to Our Lady of Narni. And Our Lady gave many miracles after the death of Lucy, showing just how great a saint Lucy was. Blessed Lucy of Narni, died November 15th in 1544. We already said that. But 4 years after her death, her body was exhumed and found to be incorrupt. Next, we go down to Malta, where they celebrate Madonna Taupinu in Garab Goso in Malta. So we're told that Taupinu means Philips, so Madonna Taupinu means Philips Madonna, right? Which makes reference to Pino Gauci, who financed the restoration of this chapel, and in 1619 commissioned its altarpiece, right? Which is a painting of the Assumption. The chapel was in disrepair on June 22nd, 1883, when Carmela Grima, at the age of 40, heard a woman's voice coming from it on her way home from the nearby field. It said, "Come, because it will be another year before you will be able to return." Right? Okay. So after Carmela knelt in the chapel to pray, she heard a voice telling her to recite 3 Hail Marys, and believe it or not, very soon the woman fell ill and remained bedridden for over a year without telling anyone that she heard that voice, right? In 1895, she told a friend, Francesco Pinelli, who revealed about the same time he had also heard a woman's voice, asking for devotion to the hidden wound of her son from carrying the cross. When Francesco's mother was miraculously healed after praying to Our Lady in the place of Taupinu, this isolated chapel began attracting pilgrims. They reconstructed and built a new church in 1920, which was finally consecrated in 1932. Right? Then we're going to jump all the way over to Canada, where they celebrate Notre Dame du Cap in Cap de la Madeleine in Quebec, Canada. We're told that the church was dedicated and the eyes moved in 1888, right? So the history of the shrine of Notre Dame du Cap is marked by 2 important miracles. One comes from 1879 and the other from 1888, right? So the church, the little church in this town was already in 1873, it was not big enough for the population of the town, right? They had to build a bigger church. But the people in that region were poor, and the sandy soil there had no stone. So then they were like, well, what do we do? Okay, well, they decided to demolish the old church and then use its stones to help build the new one. The extra stone that they needed would be taken from the other bank of the river, right, which is on the other side. So that was great, but the years passed without anything really actually happening, right? It wasn't until the late 70s, so we're talking about 1870s, probably 6 or 7, that they finally prepared the stone on the south shore to be transported to the site for the new church. So the time arrived for moving the stone. It was winter of 1878-79. The problem is that it was a very mild winter, so there was no ice on the river, right? So that's interesting because, typically in the northern regions, for those of you who don't know, because these are fresh water, meaning it's not salt water, they actually will freeze over. So the parishioners said, like, well, obviously we need the river to freeze over so we can bring the stone here. So they prayed, and every Sunday they said a rosary to obtain an ice bridge. It was a very mild winter. So January, February, now early March, there's no ice, but the people keep praying, right? And the parish priest said, okay, we're going to dedicate the church, we're going to consecrate the church to Our Lady if the stones can be transported. So it was in the evening of March 16th that a passage of ice finally formed from one bank to the other. They said it's about a distance of 2 kilometers. From March 19th to 25th, 100 horse-drawn carriages were used to transport the stone, right? They called it the Rosary Bridge, right? Because they said it was the answer, Mary's answer to their prayers. And so finally they began building this new church, and because the old church, they didn't actually destroy it because there was enough stone that they didn't need to, right? So at this point, like, they were just, okay, they were happy. This is the miracle for a new church. Why would we make it into a shrine of Notre Dame du Cap? Well, so there's the what they call the miracle of the eyes, which is the second founding event, we could say, of Notre Dame du Cap, and which makes it a shrine, right? So that old parish church became a little sanctuary dedicated to Our Lady. Once they finished the new church, the old church, like, what are you going to do with it? There's not a whole lot going on. So on June 22nd, 1888, the parish priest decided to dedicate the church to Our Lady, right? And that's important because June 22nd, which is today, marks the beginning of the Notre Dame du Cap shrine, right? So the Franciscan Father Frederick, Blessed Frederick Janson, took part in the celebration and gave the sermon, right? And so in his sermon, it's interesting because he gave what they call prophetic words. He said, from now on, this sanctuary will be Mary's sanctuary. Pilgrims will come from every family in the parish, from every parish in the diocese, and every diocese in Canada. Okay. So until then, the statue of the Blessed Virgin had been in the side chapel of the small church. After that Mass on June 22nd, it was placed in the high altar, where it's remained ever since, right? So then this church was formerly known as St. Mary Magdalene Church, but it officially became the sanctuary of Our Lady of the Most Holy Rosary, right? That's the title of Our Lady honored at the church. So that very same day, June 22nd, 1888, around 7 p.m., 3 men entered the small church that had just been dedicated to Our Lady of the Rosary to pray. They were Father Desillier, Father Frederick, and Pierre Lacroix, who was handicapped, right? As they prayed before the communion rail, something happened. And this is how Father Frederick, the Blessed Frederick, described it. He said, the statue of the Virgin, whose eyes are completely lowered, had its eyes wide open. The Virgin's gaze was fixed. She looked straight ahead at her height. She's like, the illusion was difficult, right? Her face was in full light, thanks to the sun shining through the window, and it perfectly lit up the entire sanctuary, right? Her eyes were black, well-formed, and complete harmony with the rest of the face. The Virgin's gaze was that of a living person, with an expression of severity mingled with sadness. And this prodigy lasted approximately 5 to 10 minutes. And last but not least, we're going to go to Naples, where they celebrate Madonna delle Grazie, Our Lady of Grace. So this is the church, the celebration of Our Lady of Grace in Santa Maria la Nuova, so St. Mary Church, the new one. This is one of the most popular churches in Naples. And the sweet image of Our Lady of Grace is one of the most precious to the people of Naples. So that is what we are celebrating today, June 22nd, in the Marian world. For today's Marian meditation, taken from the book by Father Ildefonso Villar, we continue with Meditation 82, entitled Mary, Universal Mediatrix of All Graces. And here we consider point 3, her mediation in the Gospels. First, she appears at the Incarnation as a co-redemptrix, since at that moment, by her consent, She accepted the sacrifice of being the mother of sorrows of the man of sorrows. In the presentation of the child Jesus, where she offers her son and renews her generous immolation and hears from the lips of Simeon the cruel prophecy about the sword which pierces her heart, she again shines forth as co-redemptrix. She is our co-redemptrix at the foot of the cross, when she associates herself with her son in such a manner that both were two hosts of the same sacrifice. Second, when she visits Saint Elizabeth, and thanks to the presence of our Blessed Lady, the Baptist is sanctified in the womb of his mother. She is again a mediatrix who intercedes, obtains, and distributes graces. She is a mediatrix in the wedding of Cana, where the first miracle of our Lord is performed by the prayer, we might say perhaps at the imposition, of Mary, when she succeeds in anticipating the hour of the manifestation of her Son. She is a mediatrix in the supper room on Pentecost Day, where Mary prepares the apostles to receive the Holy Spirit, that is to say, where she cooperates with the sanctifying work of grace in the souls of the apostles. For today's reading from The Admirable Heart of Mary by St. John Eudes, we continue with Chapter 3 in Part 10. If you remember, the whole Part 10 is a commentary on the Magnificat, and Chapter 3 concerns the first 4 words, My soul doth magnify the Lord, Magnificat anima mea Dominum. We come now to the second part of the canticle, which is anima. My soul does magnify the Lord. Notice that the Blessed Virgin Mary does not say, I magnify, but my soul doth magnify the Lord, in order to show that she magnifies him from the utmost depths of her heart and with her whole inmost strength. Thus she does magnify him not only with her lips and her tongue, her hands and feet, but she also employs all the faculties of her soul, her understanding, memory, will, and all the powers of the superior and inferior part of her soul, exhausting full inward and outward strength in order to praise, glorify, and magnify her God. She does not magnify him exclusively in her own name, nor to discharge her infinite obligations because the inconceivable favors that she has received from his divine bounty. She magnified God in the name of all creatures, and for all the graces he has bestowed upon all men, since he became man in order to render men godlike, and save the whole human race, if men will but cooperate with the designs of his inconceivable love for them.
Hello, and we hope that you enjoyed listening to our Marian podcast. In the spirit of Saint Bernard of Clairvaux, we say to you that there is no greater delight than to spread the devotion of Our Lady. We hope you share these sentiments and encourage you greatly to share with a loved one. Know that you are always in our prayers, and we ask that you keep us in yours. God bless.